to pass more food through our warehouses. So that partnership has been truly key. Next slide. So the principle of how we responded to COVID is all based around our safe food net sites. So I showed you that slide that showed how many partner agencies we have, but a lot of those agencies were really hit by COVID. They couldn't run effectively. A lot of their volunteers were 60 plus. They had financial issues. So we had to quickly put together our own network of a mixture of partner agencies and then our own run sites that would enable us to ensure we had safe places to give people out safe food. Next slide. So, you know, our philosophy is the same philosophy as everyone is undertaking at the moment, just making sure that the people packing the food were healthy, they were operating in a healthy fashion. And then currently, crucially at that final last stage, next slide, that we were able to provide that food in a safe environment. So we have 54 locations around the county where people can go and get food, and 22 of those are no contact sites where you can just drive up and people can put food in the back of your car. So that network has been absolutely crucial to us. And our volunteers have been packing over 6,000 bags a week full of fresh produce, canned goods, etc., and then providing them also with information around how to use those products. Next slide. So you can see just, you know, a major action it is for people to deliver, to put together so many boxes. So we've done over 57,000 home deliveries, both with volunteers and with National Guard. And that's really been able to get people the food that they need. I mean, typically the food bank model is predicated on we bring food to a place with services and then people come and congregate at that site. But as you can imagine with COVID, that is the opposite of what we want people to do. And so we really have had to get into the home delivery business more. Next slide. So 20 million pounds is an incredible amount. Half of that is still fresh produce, keeping people healthy. And that has really helped Santa Barbara get through up to this stage of our response to COVID. Next slide. So we're serving 1 in 4 residents in the county, and 41% of our total are kids. And that's an amazing number of people. And those numbers actually probably have crept up from that point. I mean, typically pre-COVID, we were serving 1 in 4. So I am sure we're looking at probably 1 in 3 at the moment. Next slide. So as I said at the beginning, the food bank can't do anything without scaling our activities up with volunteers. So we were worried at first when COVID hit that our volunteer force would kind of fade away. But we have really been amazed by just how many new volunteers we have, how many people have been sticking with us because they're confident that we're providing a safe environment for them to work in. So it really has made a huge difference for us. Next slide. So I'm going to hand over now to our Director of Education and Programs, Dr. Lacey Baldiviez, who's really going to share with you a little bit about how we are still during COVID, making sure that we have an adequate educational response.
Thanks, Eric. Everyone, before I begin, I just want to encourage you, if you do have questions for us, please type them into the chat box. If you have anything for Eric or for myself as we go along, feel free to do that, and then we'll visit the questions at the end. But as Eric mentioned, I'm going to drill down a little bit into the programs we have. You can imagine that we created this huge response to COVID-19, an emergency response, but we're also looking at how we can transition that response into our longer term strategy. And so the few programs I'm going to share today, I think are really good examples of that. So you can get an idea of how we think in terms of planning and addressing food insecurity in the long term. The first program falls under our Feed the Future initiative. This initiative houses all of our children's programs, and as Eric mentioned, they all have components of healthy food for kids and food literacy education, which is nutrition education, cooking skills, resourcefulness, food safety, kind of all packaged into one. We have created at this food bank a Healthy Community Pantry, which is a nationally award-winning program. I didn't create that, so I can't take credit, but it is a fantastic program that we're looking to scale across the county. So during COVID, we have developed really deep relationships with our local school districts. As they continue to provide school meals to children in need, we were able to bring our food boxes and provide supplemental food for the family to pick up alongside those meals. As you can imagine, at some of our safe distribution sites, the lines for getting food can be extremely long. So this was one way that we looked at removing barriers to access for food for lower income families in the community. That program was open to any school site that the school district wanted to provide food to. But looking forward, we wanted to be really strategic in targeting areas of the community with the highest rates of poverty and also communities of color. And so the way that we did that was we took a look at bringing these programs into schools in particular. We have 4 that already exist, and we're looking to bring on 6 more. So this will get us access to children and families. We already partner well with the schools, as I mentioned. And then one thing we're building in is really a focus on disaster preparedness, so that families in lower income communities have access to the disaster preparedness training that we provide, and that they have access to that in their preferred language. This will also allow us to have access to neighborhoods in the event of a disaster. Next slide, please. So this is a long list of our targeted areas. As I mentioned, 4 already exist. We looked across the county. One of our goals was equitable access. So we're opening a total of 5 sites in North County and 5 sites in South County. We use census poverty data to identify census tracts of interest that we wanted to target. And then once we identified the tract, we were able to identify a school in that area and just confirm their eligibility using the free and reduced lunch qualification data. Most of the schools that are on the list are about 75% or so of their students do qualify for the free and reduced lunch program. We have made great progress on opening some of these new sites. El Camino Elementary School in Goleta is set to open on February 25th. Lompoc High School is opening on February 27th. And we're also in communication with Santa Barbara Unified to open Franklin and McKinley in March or April. Next slide, please. Another target population that we have created a program for during COVID-19 is our local farm workers. Farm workers are some of the lowest income families in our community. And so similar to the Healthy School Pantry program, we're really targeting bringing the foods to neighborhoods. Oftentimes people have barriers to accessing our programs. They don't have transportation. Taking public transportation right now may not be safe. And so both the schools and the residential food distributions remove that barrier for people and allow them access to the healthy foods and education that we provide. So this program, we're really proud of the education we provide here. We do both our food literacy using large printed boards, and people stand at a distance while they're waiting in line for the food to receive the food literacy education. We also partner with community health centers who provides COVID-19 safety education, as well as PPE. And as a result of this program, and I'm sure many other efforts that are out there, we collectively have reduced the incidence rate of COVID-19 transmission among farm workers from 18% to 4%. So we are very proud that our food-based program could be a part of that effort. We also survey the clients in both Spanish and Mixteco languages, which are generally what's spoken at these specific distributions. And we get feedback on the foods that we provide, ensuring that they're culturally inclusive and that we're able to provide foods that they will actually eat. And as a result of this program, we've served about 21,000 individuals to date. Next slide, please. And I've mentioned education in both of these major programs, and you may be wondering how we do that at a safe distance. Especially for Mixteco, you may or may not know that it's not a written language. So it's really not something we could hand out a flyer or a pamphlet. So we work with paid peer educators. They're called promotoras, and they attend our sites. We produce these large poster boards, colorful and visually interesting, and they go through some of the lessons with people waiting in line. So this one is an example of My Plate, where we teach people to fill their plate with plants in accordance with the USDA guidelines. And this is similarly done with the COVID-19 safety trainings. Next slide, please. And then lastly, this program is something you may be interested to attend. It's totally free, so I just thought I'd share the opportunity with you. Food as Medicine is a community education platform where we highlight cutting edge nutrition science. And so hopefully get most of your questions answered that are applicable to all of us. So this is an example of some of the topics we have discussed so far. We've talked about different types of proteins like plant-based sources, how the foods we eat affect our mood, questions about digestion, etc. And so right now we do this using Zoom webinar, very easy to log in and watch. We keep the sessions to 1 hour at the most, generally 30 minutes with like 15 minutes of Q&A. And we have local nutrition experts provide the information, so it's really high quality. These are available on our website. We do record them, so if you're interested, you could check that out. They're also recorded in an audio kind of interview format, and they live on our podcast, which has become very popular as well. There's links to our podcast on foodbanksbc.org, and I can tell you that we have over 1,200 listens on the podcast already, so you may find that interesting. Next slide. And for this discussion, I'll hand it back over to Eric.
Great, thank you. So we're just going to finish up by just giving you a quick insight into a major challenge that we're facing at the moment, which is having inadequate warehouse space in Santa Barbara. I mean, I described about how we were able to borrow 2 warehouses, but our existing Santa Barbara warehouse is an old converted fire station. It doesn't have any loading docks. So we've really been for the last few years on the search for a new warehouse or a piece of land where we can build on that. So we're currently having to bring food down from the north of the county every day to this facility. If we could have the next slide. And that's, it's bad for the environment every day, but in a situation even like the Thomas disaster where there's a split or a break in the road, it makes it impossible. So all of the county's emergency food response people are all depending on the food bank in the event of a disaster. And we've done studies which show that within 6 hours of a major earthquake, we would have to be prepared to feed 50,000 people, which are commuters and tourists that come to Santa Barbara and don't live here, but who would be stuck here, in addition to other people who would need help. So that's an incredible challenge that we face here. Next slide. So we are looking to build a new 30,000 square foot facility that will ensure that if there is a major disaster, that we're able to feed everyone in the county who needs help within this crucial first few days where there wouldn't be any other help coming in from elsewhere. So this will allow us to store a lot more food and just to make sure that everyone in Santa Barbara is going to be safe and healthy during that time. So we appreciate everyone just, listening and us downloading a lot of information to you. Now is really an opportunity for you to make your comments, to ask your questions, and to really build that partnership with us that makes the food bank so effective.
I do have a question in the chat box. It looks like it's from Christopher, and it's the Santa Barbara County Food Bank have a program to collect produce, citrus, avocados, etc. from people's yards that often would otherwise go to waste.
Lacey, do you want to deal with this one?
Sure, we absolutely do. It's called Backyard Bounty, and we use all volunteers, and we go out and harvest exactly what you mentioned, things like citrus and avos. I know we recently did a huge one for mandarins, and they go all across our county, north and south, and we do share them with other counties as well because so much, such large poundage comes in.
Another question I have from Sarah. She thanks us for our presentation. and says, do you accept once-used plain brown paper grocery bags?
I'll take that one too.
Sure.
We don't at this time because we have to be so diligent with our COVID-19 safety protocols.
So I would be interested to hear what, if you are a new donor to the food bank, what brought you to us, or what is your story of your connection to the food bank? That would be interesting. Who's feeling brave?
I'll just say, this is Chris Horner. I just think that the food bank is, I don't know that much about it, but, I know that this community has a lot of difficulty, especially with COVID, and to do this work on behalf of the community is just, incredibly inspiring. And I just wanted to, be a small part of it, to participate in the way I can participate right now, which is to make, small financial donations when I can.
Well, we truly appreciate it. I mean, I think what makes the food bank work so well is that we have so many donors in the county. I mean, Dan, you want to kind of talk about just how many people do what they can?
Sure, I'd love to talk about that, Eric. Yeah, I have a wonderfully generous community here in the county, and it's made up of people of all different ages and people at all different giving levels. So people whose gifts can be, $100, and people whose gifts can be thousands of dollars. And all of that is important to us. All of that makes up, a robust community. So we're grateful for the gifts. We've actually seen a big uptick in terms of the number of donors who have come to us for the first time. That's one of the reasons we wanted to hold this town hall, because people who come to us for the first time, we want to make it possible for you to get to know us and hopefully feel engaged with our mission, so you continue to support us. As Eric said, we're really grateful for those of you who have recognized this really difficult situation for our community and stepped up to help us. Thank you for that.
So I wonder if anyone has any thoughts about what we might be doing, or that we're not doing now, or whether was there another question there?
Yeah, it looks like there's another question that says, what's the best way for companies or organizations to volunteer as a group with the food bank at this time, given pandemic conditions?
So Natalie, are you on the call? It sounds like a Natalie question.
I don't believe Natalie's on the call, but it can go ahead and take it. So the first step that we would take for a company or organization who's interested in volunteering, you're welcome to reach out to one of us. We do have, there is a form, foodbanksbc.org, where groups can go on and kind of sign up, and we can sort of see what's a good match for your organization, what's a good time, and hopefully we can find something that will work. It is a little more complicated because of COVID-19, safety regulations, and we can not have as many people in one spot as we used to be able to have. So we do have some limitations, but we would love for you to contact us if you have a business or organization that's interested, and discuss it further.
This is a nice Zen moment. I'm visualizing ending hunger in Santa Barbara County, and I can feel everyone thinking the same thoughts. So thank you.
I was going to say maybe we should do like a brief meditation. So if nobody has any further questions, we'll just go ahead and wrap it up for today. But again, I just want to thank everybody for joining us. If you have any follow-up questions, feel free to reach out to us after the call. One more question. How long has the food bank been in Santa Barbara?
Well, next year is 2022 will be our 40th anniversary. So we're getting very excited about that. So really, food banks came about around the country in the late 70s and early 80s as a way of dispensing extra government food that was there, the famous government cheese and things like that. But obviously, food banks have developed incredibly during that period, where now food that comes from the USDA is a much smaller portion of the food that's going out. And a lot of it comes from donations, both locally and the state level. And then we're purchasing millions of dollars of food as well to supplement that. So great question.
All right, great. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. Again, this past year has been absolutely phenomenal, and thank you to everybody for joining us, because you're what has allowed us to really step up and meet the need of the community. Again, any follow-up questions, reach out to us at any time. We'd love to hear from all of our partners in the community. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thanks again, everyone, for your support.